understanding. Our purpose is to develop an understanding and respect for diversities of all kinds, and not just for ourselves, but to enhance the lives of our students by helping them develop understanding and respect for diversities of all kinds. And so as we take a look at some examples here, this graphic here of diversities, I want you to think about the definition of diversity. What's your definition? How would you define diversity? Clicking through, I have about 8 to share with you. Here, just to give you an idea what diversity could be, what is it? What is this thing called diversity? Another way of looking at diversity in more global terms, political views and family, religion, appearance, even career-wise, educational status, geographical location, marital status, a variety of ways of looking at this question of what is diversity. Okay, so, honey, are you able to advance that slide? I'm not able to do this one for some reason. Okay, so another way of looking at diversity, notice the disabilities are represented there, perhaps even differences in religious groups are represented. There are gender kinds of ways of looking at diversity. Sitting around this boardroom here, discussing, as you look at that, you might say, okay, what diversity is represented here? And then what diversity is missing here? If we are talking about an issue related to youth, maybe we would need some youth representation on this, at this particular committee. Let me hear from you. What would we need in order to diversify this particular setting that you see there? It could be any number of things, obviously. So what are some things? Turn your mics on and talk to us.
Good evening. Good evening. Can you, exactly, I wanted to ask the same thing. Can you please repeat and try to be more specific?
Okay, as you take a look at this graphic here, what you see, just tell me what you see there. First of all, you might start by just saying what is there, what do you see? And then look at it through the lens of diversity. What do you see in terms of diversity, and what could be used to enhance, to improve what you see here? I said they're discussing dress code. Student dress code is the topic of discussion. So given that information, how would you, what recommendations would you make for diversifying the work of this committee?
I mean, obviously they have 2 different genders represented at the table, and it appears that typically when I think about issues with dress code, it's more so with girls, for some reason always comes up on what is deemed quote unquote appropriate or not. So it is interesting that it appears as though maybe the principal, vice principal, or a committee chair is female. However, it seems like most of the individuals here, their idea of a dress code is probably going to be similar based on their dress appearance, and there doesn't seem to be diversity in the way of maybe different cultures or races, or they all look about the same age. So maybe if these were all like seasoned teachers, 15, 20 years in, they might want some diversity in the ways of younger teachers in discussing those. That's just what comes to mind initially.
Thank you, Kat. Anybody else? Very good, excellent. You covered ageism, and also in terms of maybe viewpoints as represented by their own dress. Okay. But just start looking at committees around your school and who's on those committees, who's represented, what is the topic, what is the issue being discussed, who needs to be at this committee meeting, what voices need to be heard, and to work to diversify. And Connie, can you I don't know if you can advance that for me. Oops. Okay. Is that, I don't know if you are sharing or I'm sharing. All right, let me get it. I'm going to share it again here. For some reason on this laptop, I wasn't. Ah. Okay, looks like it's not going to move. I'm going to have to share like this. So we're looking at just some symbols here representing diversity. And then the question is, what is diversity? Can you put in the chat box or maybe just turn your mic on and share what you view as diversity? What is this thing called diversity? Anybody have an idea in your own words? No takers?
Well, I put in the chat that whenever I think about diversity, it's variety. Like I kind of have a hard time putting it into definition because diversity is, in my mind, is there's just a lot of different variety of viewpoints, of things, of options, of choices, all seen as equal, but with different viewpoints.
Yes, right. Lots of different choices. And diversity is a lot more complex than we normally think of it as represented by those graphics that I showed you. Just layers and layers of differences. And each of you and all of us are members of various groups. And we are just, even one person in this class would be a good example of diversity. I remember John Goodlad talking about how we could have like one arm could be longer than the other arm, or we could have sinuses that are one, that are older than another set of sinuses. I don't know where you got that example. That's weird. We differ in terms of shoe size. One foot is larger than the other foot. So just one person is just loaded with lots and lots of diversity. So it's interesting that many times when we're teaching, we want to teach everybody the same, we want everybody to start on the same page, and want them to end at the same time. We want to all stay together. We love it. And we define that unity as really, really good teaching, when really it's just the opposite of what good teaching is. We are to differentiate the classes to be dynamic with kids moving here and moving there, and some working in small groups, some working in dyads, some in triads, some working with the teacher. All of this going on in order to represent diversity. So I'm going to try to go to this next slide here. And I have a little quick video, if we can show that. Connie, let's see. I'm going to try to click on it first. All right, let's see what happens here. Do all of you see the video?
Not yet. Right click on it, Joyce. Do a right click.
All right, right click.
Mm-hmm. Try that.
Okay, is it to start it?
Yes, I would.
Do you think I need to share my screen again?
You are sharing your screen, but you might need to stop and do it again. Let's see if it, do you see the video, Joyce?
I see the video.
Okay, then stop sharing and then share the video. There you go.
Okay, everybody sees
We can see that, yeah.
Thank you. And I hope also at the same time, let me see. I didn't want to share it yet. One moment here. Sometimes I forget to share my sound so we can hear. Okay, let's see. Now we're ready. Everybody see that video? Yes?
Yes.
People. Written and illustrated by Peter Spire. We all know that there are lots and lots of people in the world, and many more millions each year. There are now over 7 billion human beings on this earth. Each and every one of us is different from all the others, each one a unique individual in his or her own right.
We come in all sizes and shapes, tall, short, and in between. But without a single exception, we can all begin quite small. And we come in many colors, even our eyes have different shapes and colors.
Think of our hair, from snow white to pitch black, straight, curly, kinky, and wavy. And a lot of people have no hair at all. People are funny. Some with straight hair want theirs to be wavy, and others with little curls want theirs straight.
All of us want to look our best, so what is considered beautiful or handsome in one place is considered ugly and even ridiculous elsewhere.
Some of us are wise, some of us are foolish, but most of us are somewhere in between. Most people are decent, honest, friendly, and well-meaning, but some are none of these.
People everywhere love to play, but not the same games are everywhere. Kite fighting, rodeo, camel rush.
The homes we build are as varied as we are, but we all need a roof over our heads.
And we celebrate different feasts and holidays.
And some of us are rich, although most are not, and very many are desperately poor.
Almost everyone can speak, but there are 201 different many languages spoken on Earth. Not to mention the countless variants and dialects spoken by smaller groups, and deaf people can communicate in silence through sign language.
Not nearly all the world's people can read and write, yet there are almost 100 different ways of doing it. We have invented a strange system of ranks, grades, and classes, yet we all live on the same planet, breathe the same air, and warm ourselves in the same sun, and in the end we must all die. 7 billion human beings, young and old, sick and well, happy and unhappy, kind and unkind, strong and weak, people everywhere and all different.
It is very strange. Some people even hate others because they are unlike themselves. Because they are different, they forget that they too would seem different if they could only see themselves through other people's eyes.
But imagine how dreadfully dull this world of ours would be if everybody looked, thought, ate, dressed, and acted the same. Now, isn't it wonderful that each and every one of us is unlike any other?
All people deserve to be treated with kindness and compassion.
So making the point, there was that beautiful little book, people, some of you may have that book, that we all are different. Move on to the next slide. Okay, everyone can see that now. We're back to our PowerPoint.
Yes.
Okay, so diversity, who are we as a people? You know, that's what diversity tells us, who we are as a people. We are young and old, rich and poor, and black and white, and some of us are from large cities and some from small towns, and different religious groups are represented. Some are educated and not so, and also disabled. I was listening to a presentation by a special education teacher who talked about how so many of the disabilities are hidden. You don't know when you're talking to a person who may be disabled all the time. So very few of them are, a lot fewer of them are visible than invisible. And so overall, we are saying that this whole issue and topic addresses more than just numbers, more than just the presence of. I know a lot of institutions have worked hard on just diversity, just trying to diversify their school population or their university population. They got the people there. Once you get them there, then the question, okay, what are you going to do? How are you going to include them? And how can you include them equitably? And of course, that term equity is not the same as equality. You know, giving all people the same just may not be equitable. It may be may represent equality, but not equity, because some need more. And so we need to be prepared to do that. And then finally, overall justice. We're talking equal rights, equitable opportunities should be also a part of this discussion. Looking at the next slide, all of us are a part of more than one group. We are part of the macro culture, the larger society, but we also are part of different micro cultures that define us. And so that brings to the question this word intersectionality. It's a polysyllabic word, but simply means how our cultures how they cross, how they crisscross, how they intersect. So I am, if just looking at myself, I am my race, I'm Black. I speak English, part of that group, the English world, English speaking world. I am also female, that puts me in another category. So just take those two dimensions, Black, female. Two, intersectionality is reflected by the fact that I'm a Black female who speaks English. That's another category there. So in some parts of the world, I might be discriminated against once they know I speak English. So, you know, so sometimes when you travel, you want to keep it a secret that you speak English, because as soon as people find out you do, then they begin to discriminate against you or victimize you in certain kinds of ways. And of course, you don't want to be discriminated against because of one aspect of who you are, and then on the other hand, embraced because and given opportunities because of another aspect of your culture. So intersectionality is another kind of variable that comes into the picture. So as we take a look at this, I want you to tell me, look at the groups that are represented here and write in the chat box how you are impacted by intersectionality. What groups are you are part of? Connie, what do you see in the chat box? Anything?
Well, let's see. Nothing yet, but you know, earlier I shared when we met with the Italian group, I shared that I think, Joyce, you mentioned that maybe I could be part of all of those groups on the slide. You know, some way it relates to, but I might want to emphasize, I might relate to one of those more than other. I think a person wants to feel that they're more than their skin color. You know, you probably don't go around thinking I'm white all day or I'm black all day. You know, you think I'm a whatever role you are doing, you know, like maybe now I think of myself as a teacher because we're with other teachers today. But earlier I was a mom because my daughter was here, you know, or a wife when I was thinking about Father's Day tomorrow. Or I might be thinking of myself as a citizen of the world because today is Juneteenth, right? So, you know, lots of things.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting that you say that you don't always walk around thinking that you're white. I don't necessarily always walk around thinking that I'm black, but there are variables in the society that cause me to remember and know and be reminded that I am black, probably more so than you Connie. So just because of the way our society is.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to say that I'm aware that that's true because I have other friends who are maybe not black, but brown, and who are married, you know, because you can be married to a person of another color. And so in this case, it was a brown person married to a black person, and someone at the store threw the change down on the counter rather than, you know, hand it politely.
Yeah. And you know, I hear those mothers kind of who have children who are, say, biracial. They're really cognizant of, on a daily basis, of more so of race and skin color than perhaps if you did not have biracial children. So they're always having to watch out, you know, and to protect their children from certain kinds of things in society just because of their kids' color. So we have to realize that there are some groups in our society who are more, who may not would want to be so in tune to their color, but because of society and the kinds of things that happen on a daily basis, they have to be more mindful of, brought to their attention more so than that their color more so than others. So that too is a topic that we could talk about a long time, lots of examples there. But looking at the next slide, this whole question of intersectionality, look at the pictures that's there. All of those are women, right? But you might want to choose one and look at how am I in that photo of they're all women, they share that commonality. But what differences do they share? Talk to me about the differences that you see, even in the midst of what appears to be unity. And anyone share? What are your thoughts? Look at the lady back here with the purple hair. I bet she's probably, yeah, I would say younger, maybe, than some of the others. Her skin tone looks a little different there. So I would say young black or young, you know, identifiable group member. Someone here who maybe is of a different religious background than others, maybe. Okay. You have some that in terms of values and beliefs, maybe a little bit different just by looking at the images that are here. So the point is that even though all of these women all of them are women, they cross over into different groups. So you would think that, oh, wow, look at that picture, such homogeneity. They're all the same. No, they're not the same. A little deeper really looking and thinking beneath the surface, will find just a host of diversities, even within the midst of what appears to be extreme unity there. So here's a quote by Audre Lorde: "There's no such thing as a single issue struggle because we do not live single issue lives." So true. Another word that we sometimes discuss is culture. What is culture? I've been in classes with students where I've had students who say, well, I feel so disadvantaged because I don't have a culture. You know, they're thinking of themselves. Sometimes teachers will have units on Africa and all the exotic foods of China and different cultures. But, you know, everybody has a culture, and we're part of at least one culture and probably several different cultures. A culture has to do with how we do things, you know. It addresses the art of our culture, the music of our culture, food preferences of our culture, dress code and mores and values, the way we do things, family and religion. Now, some of you who are married may be reminded of how, you know, it's always kind of interesting when I think about marriage, how two people come together. They've been, you know, grown up, even if they've grown up in the same community, maybe even next door. When you marry and you come together, it's like two families, two households coming together. And you find out immediately that, wow, I never thought about these particular differences, like making a decision as to when or how you're going to celebrate Christmas, whether you're going to celebrate it at all, or how are we going to have Christmas dinner around 12 noon? Or are we going to have a Christmas lunch or Christmas dinner around 7 p.m.? You know, the wife may say, well, in my household, my family, my mother, we always had dinner around, you know, 6, 7 on Christmas Day. And whereas a husband would say, oh no, we always had celebrated Christmas around 12 noon, right after we open up all the presents. Then in the morning and then around 12 noon, 12:01, we have Christmas lunch. You're saying we call it Christmas dinner. So there are all kinds of diversities that are brought together in families, but when couples come together and create a family. But the thing is that these diverse groups, these different groups, man and woman, you know, husband, wife, you know, however, father, mother, come together. They have to make decisions about, okay, how are we going to operate? We've got to decide, okay, are we going to celebrate Christmas in this kind of way or this kind of way? Whose home are we going to go to? In some places, you know, we always go to my mother's house for Easter. You know, we do this at Easter. We don't do that at Easter. Diversities that have to be worked out. And that's really an example of what we must do in the society and in our schools and in our classrooms when we have coming together these diverse groups. We just have to work it out. So everybody has a culture. So hopefully no one in this class is thinking, well, I don't have a culture, because I'm here today to tell you definitely that you do have a culture. So what is your culture? Share, please, in the chat box what your culture is, how you perceive your culture. And Connie will read some of those. What's your culture? Anything in the chat box, Connie? No, we can keep going. All right. But just recognizing that we all have a culture. Now, what does diversity mean for your classroom? What does it mean in terms of lesson planning? When you're getting ready to teach a particular body of content, you want to address questions like, well, who am I teaching? You want to know something about your students. That Renzulli profiler that you have completed is a good way, a good tool to use in finding out information about your students. Renzulli also has a interest analyzer that will help give you more information about your students. Or you may have a tool that you use, and a lot of teachers use a tool at the beginning of the year to find out things about students. What their preferences are, their likes and dislikes, what they like to do on the weekend, how many sisters and brothers and so forth. And you can work that information into your assignments that you give students throughout the year. You can work it into activities and projects. And it's also just good information for you to know. But a lot of times I think teachers collect that information about their students, but they never really use it. But here's a place you can use it as you try to represent and recognize diversity in your classroom. Okay, so you're planning this lesson. You want to decide what media we're going to use. And as you look at the media, what groups are represented in that media? You know, who did the person who put that video together think about reflecting different groups, boys and girls, people of different colors and different persuasions, you know, how those things reflected in the videos that you're bringing to classroom and using. And even though we adults, we might think, oh, that's so trivial, that's not important. Well, you know what? It is important to those students that you're teaching. They are looking for reflections of themselves. And if you choose the right kind of materials and resources for your classroom and teaching a particular piece of content, it may be that those students will be drawn to have more interest in what you are presenting than if that information was just totally selected without being aware of or being aware of the importance of diversity when you are selecting materials and resources curriculum. So what global goals will you address as you prepare your students for an increasingly diverse world? And this is true even if you teach at a school like Taylor teaches in little school district. It may be that, I don't know, the majority group in her community may be white. And she may not have any Black students out there. She may not have any Hispanic students out there. So she may say, well, why should I worry about using diverse media? We're using diverse novels and short stories and having the theater group do a play that reflects and involves different cultural groups. The band teacher choosing music that reflects different cultural groups, not just playing a certain type of music, reflecting a limited band of diversity. Why is that important? It is important even if you are at a school that is homogeneous, if there's such a thing, in terms of races that are there. Because those students are going to grow up and they may have lives beyond that particular community. You want them to be able to go out and interact with the larger world, the larger society, where they're not afraid of different groups. They're not afraid of old people. They're not afraid of people who are disabled in some kind of way. So they are cosmopolitan. They are ready to interact. They're not hampered by fears of someone who looks, thinks, and acts in a different way from how they act, think, and feel. So that's why diversity is important no matter where you find yourself. If you are in a so-called homogeneous population. So you want to identify books, you want to identify resources that reflect diversity. Open your eyes to diversity that's all around you. And you want to work for inclusion, you want to work for equity, you want to look for allies and help them to see what you have come to see. You know, when you find yourself watching a commercial on television and you're looking for diversity, your eyes have been opened. I think that's good. When you find that your principal has appointed a committee of all women to look at a particular topic, you know, you may want to recommend that committee be diversified. We need some diversity here. We need some men present. We need some older teachers and teachers with more experience, as well as teachers with less experience present on this committee as we make decisions. So eyes open, and then our actions should become in line with what we see. So look at your life, look at your school, look at your curriculum to make a difference. I want you to take a look at this little drawing here that kind of reflects the enrichment triad model that Jean has talked about, 2 lectures addressed. You're going to be choosing a topic for those of you who are working with students, and even if you're not, this is the enrichment triad model that consists of 3 types of experiences or activities. At type 1, students are exploring a general topic, and just you have speakers come in on that topic. They're going out on field trips. They're reading articles. They are watching videos on this topic. And maybe that overall topic is technology and the theme is exploration. And you have told your students at the end of 2 weeks, we're going to engage in these type 1 activities for a period of a week or 2. And at the end of that period, I want you to have chosen a topic that you want to explore related to technology, something that you want to explore individually or with a small group, related to the topic of technology and the theme of exploration. And you're going to, at the end of that 2-week period, submit your proposal, your just little simple description of what you want to do, what project you want to do, to name it. And then I, as a teacher, I'm going to take those project proposals and look through them, and I'm going to decide, well, who needs interview skills? I see one of my students who wants to conduct a survey. Well, that student needs to know how to conduct a survey. Who is going to be interviewing? But that student needs to know good interviewing techniques and tools to use if they're going to interview. So you decide on for your type 2 trainings after looking at the project proposal forms that your students submit. And then after you approve those, and students are then able to move on to type 3. Some are ready to move on. Maybe others, you say, well, you've got to take another look at this. This is not really, doesn't really say to me what exactly you want to do. And so they may be still in type 2, working out the details of what they want to do. Some may have to go back to type 1 because they might change my mind. I don't want to do that. I want to do something else related to technology. So that accounts for those errors going in different directions, because it's not like all students are moving along lockstep in a group after doing type 1, moving to type 2 as a group, and then moving to type 3 as a group. They're going to be at different places. The classroom is very dynamic when you talk about this enrichment triad model. So hopefully, almost any topic you can look for diversity in almost any topic, even if it's geometry. Look for the person behind that geometric procedure or process. Whose idea was that? If there's a person behind that idea, you have diversity. You have diversity, because we've already said that an individual of 1 is very diverse. That person is from a particular place. That person speaks a particular language. That person enjoys a particular kind of food, music. That person has different values and mores and values, so you can bring all of this into the classroom. So no matter what you teach, diversity and issues of culture will be present throughout everything we teach. So throughout the curriculum, we don't want to just look at what the teacher is doing in his or her classroom. If you're in a school, issues of diversity should be addressed throughout that school. From the moment you step up to the schoolhouse door, the front door, you walk down that hallway, usually you see trophy cases. What's in your trophy case? Who's reflected? What photos, what images do you see in that trophy case? Walk a little further down the hall, look into the school office. Who's in that office? Who's working? Who's your secretary? What groups, identifiable groups, are represented? What languages are spoken? Well, how is diversity handled if kids from different cultural groups come into that office? How they greeted, how they interacted with. Walk on down the hall, look in the classroom, look in the library, looking for diversity throughout that school. Look at what the counselor is doing. Look at how you're assessing kids and testing kids. At my university, if a student comes and says, I am dyslexic, immediately I have to refer that student to our disabilities office, so we have all kinds of resources for that student. So diversity should be not just something that the teacher is working hard on in his or her classroom, but it should be present throughout the school's curriculum. So overall here, our point about diversity is that, first of all, we're all members of various cultural groups. We're all members of we're a diverse group of people. And so we should understand and respect diversities of all kinds. Thank you very much. That's quick, but I think that it addresses the topic, and we'll about 9 minutes past, I think, our time, right?
Well, thank you, Joyce. This has been very informative, and I thank you for to everyone who attended today on a Saturday afternoon, hot day out there today. So we're going to dismiss you, and we hope we'll post all the announcements of the lectures in the future in the Google Classroom. So if you're unsure of the link, you're unsure of the time, all the links and lectures will be posted there. And then we'll post recordings in YouTube. Okay?
Bye, Kat, Mariana. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. Thank you.
Bye, thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye. Bye-bye.